What's going on, everyone? It's Phil from Earth Nails and Tails. The garlic is ready for harvest. So I'm going to take you along and we're going to show you how we can grow this huge garlic every single year. Garlic is one of my favorite vegetables to grow. One, because it's so easy, and two, it grows over the winter. And last season we planted our garlic in these two beds right here, and now as you can see they're also interplanted with tomatoes. So I'm getting 2, maybe 3 crops out of the exact same garden beds. Garlic is typically planted in the fall for zones 3 through 8, and for zones in a higher region you typically have to get pretty creative in how you're growing your garlic. And that requires some stratification or putting the garlic bulbs inside the refrigerator for an extended period of time before you actually plant them out in the garden. But I want to talk about how we're growing our garlic here in zone 7B and how we've been doing it for years with the exact same cloves. So I'm going to go ahead and just start harvesting these along the way. This bed I actually planted 8 months ago, and the bed next to me, we planted our garlic 3 weeks later. So we have a staggered harvest, so we're gonna see exactly what happened from this planting. But as I'm going through, as I said, we've been harvesting this exact same garlic for 3 years. And what that means is when I've planted the garlic, you're planting, so this is a head of garlic right here. What you're planting is this clove, this individual clove, and this grows into this. So every year I grow enough garlic to eat and to save to grow more for the following season. So every single year, this is essentially a clone of the garlic that I grew last year. So as long as you plant the biggest cloves that you can get, you're gonna get bigger and bigger cloves every single year. Because the most amazing thing is that your garlic will actually adapt to its environment and grow better every single year. So when we first harvested garlic, and this one's not gonna be as large, but still, I guess it proved me wrong. But when we started harvesting our garlic, we were getting garlic heads that were pretty small. Honestly, like this one. This one's actually not quite ready. It's got a lot of white and green still, but this is about the size of the garlic that we originally harvested our first year. You could see the difference. If I would let this go a little bit longer, it probably would have bulbed up a little bit more. But in order to get this big, massive garlic, I'm gonna take the biggest cloves off this head, save those to plant the following season, and they're gonna get bigger and bigger. So typically when you're planting your garlic, starting at ground zero, we're gonna get our beds prepped. And your garlic really wants a nice, loose, well-draining soil because your garlic heads aren't really growing very deeply. Their roots are very shallow, so you need to provide them the soil that they need immediately around the outsides of your garlic bulbs. So if you're curious as to what type of, I think I'm actually gonna leave this one. This one's still pretty green. So if you're curious what type of soil that I used for my garlic beds, and I use the exact same soil throughout my garden, you can watch this video right here, and that's how I set up and fill any raised bed. That includes our metal Birdies raised beds or our handmade wooden raised beds right here. That soil mixture is really what provides the right growing medium in order to get continual harvests like this. Look at that consistency. That's exactly what you're looking for. So once you have this soil set up, filled your raised beds, I like to add a few things in order to get the microbes working in the soil. The more I garden, the more I learn how important the soil activity is. And to get things going, you need to feed those microbes. So I like to use a balanced fertilizer. I love Dr. Earth. I've been using it for years now, and it does an amazing job. It's inoculated with beneficial microbes, as well as micronutrients and macronutrients. So that's always a great option. I also like to use Azomite or Azomite rock dust, which fills up the rest of those micronutrient blends. So that's all of your minerals, and Azomite is really just a play on words. It means minerals from A to Z, hence azomite. So that's a really good mineral complex, which is going to give all of your vegetables more nutrition in them and feed the microbes. And then I also like to add in a light layer of worm castings. That's going to provide even more microbiology for the soil and nutrition that is biologically available to your plants immediately. The amazing things about worm castings is that they're already broken down. They're already digested by the worms, so they can get working right away as soon as you put it in your soil. So now our soil is prepared and it's been inoculated with our nutrition and our microbes. So now we're ready to plant our garlic. So what I like to do is plant my garlic about 6 inches apart, and I like to use my wide spacing with my hand like this, and I'll lay out all of my garlic. In this bed, I was able to have 3 rows, one down the middle and one on either side, and about, let's say, 10 to 12 cloves of garlic per row. So I'm growing anywhere from 30 to 45 cloves of garlic in this raised bed right here. Once I have them all laid out, it's very important to identify the root side as well as the crown side of the garlic. And don't unwrap your garlic into individual cloves like this until you're 100% ready to plant, because it's automatically going to start to degrade. So once you understand that this is the root side and this is the crown side, all I like to do is just take my thumb and make an indent into my soil, put the garlic in that hole, and then cover it over, and you're done. That's literally how simple it is to plant your garlic cloves. And then once they're planted, remember, we're planting them in the fall. And the recommended time to plant them is around your first frost date. Because cold varieties of garlic, so a hardneck variety of garlic, needs to have some vernalization period, some period of time where the weather is cold, typically below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That basically tells the clove that, hey, winter's here, I'm gonna reset and I'm gonna get ready to start bulbing up once the weather gets warm again. So for hardneck varieties, that is very important for you to plant them in the fall, so that way they can grow successfully in the spring. And during this time, they're going to lay dormant. They're going to start to establish these shallow roots, which will allow it to kickstart itself in the spring. But once you've got your garlic planted in the ground and you've got the timing right, and you can see I still got some left over here, is you want to apply a thick layer of mulch. And it's fall, the perfect time for you to gather some leaves and just throw them down on your raised beds. And you want this layer to be thick. I'm talking 4 to 6 inches thick. This, to me, is really the trick that I have learned that will set your garlic from good to great. That it really is the step. Because especially if you live in a much colder climate where you're getting significantly hard frosts. Oh, this one's gonna be trouble. Oh. So especially if you're growing in an area where you get extremely hard frosts, this is going to help maintain the soil temperature as well as the moisture inside of your soil. So for these reasons, it's really important for you to mulch your garlic. And that will also keep you or prevent you from having to water your garlic over the winter. I honestly just let my garlic grow over the winter time. I don't really provide them that much water. As long as you're getting some frosts, some snow, some rain over the winter time, it should be enough to allow your garlic to establish before the springtime. Now, when spring rolls around and those temperatures start to get above like 50 degrees or into the 60s, if you're not getting a consistent rain every single week, you need to start watering your garlic. And that's about 1 inch of rain per week. And if you're curious on exactly what that means, you can check out this video right here on how much you should be watering your garden, and that will clear things up for you. So watering your garlic is going to build these beautiful bulbs up right here. And so are those long or increasing in length spring days. Lost that one in there. Gonna have to dig. I'm gonna have to come back to that one. I'm just gonna leave this here so I don't forget. But as your days get longer, those bulbs are really gonna start to get bigger, more plump, and that's when they're gonna really be desiring that water. Oh, look at that one. This one is wild. That's a crazy looking garlic right there. The cloves are like busting out. This one we're probably gonna have to eat pretty soon. But as your days are getting longer, you might see, for this one's a great example right here. For my hardneck garlic varieties, I have a mixture of hardneck and softneck here. As I said, hardneck is really great for colder climates. And if you live in a warmer climate like me, zone 7B or even zone 8, you can go for a softneck. I like to challenge things a little bit. I planted both. You'll know it's a hardneck variety because it'll actually have a stem that comes out in the middle of the garlic. And you're probably like, hey, these all have stems that come out in the middle. But your hardneck varieties actually have single cloves that go all the way around the stems, versus your softneck variety like this one has layers of cloves, and it doesn't have a defined stem like this one does right here. This I actually cut off. It's called the garlic scape. This stem will come out of the center of the garlic and it will start to swirl over, and that's what's actually holding the flower and the seed pod of your hardneck garlics. So you want to make sure that when you see this, you're cutting them off, because otherwise the garlic is going to put all of its energy into growing those flowers, growing those seeds, so that way it can go on and create the next generation. So cutting these off is going to focus the garlic's energy on growing the bulb and not the seeds. And you can cook these scapes and they're actually quite delicious. Stir fry them up with some butter and some garlic and they're pretty amazing. This is also another good indication that your garlic is pretty close to being ready for harvest. Again, this one, see how you can see that this is still pretty tough and tender, and this garlic clove isn't huge. So it just shows you the right time to harvest it is when these necks are starting to break, unlike this one right here. It's still pretty green, but that's okay. I want to get these out of the ground. So that goes on to our next cue. When is the right time to harvest your garlic? And I've been watching these. As I said, the scape is a great sign that you're a few weeks away. But also, you're gonna start to see a majority of your leaves of your garlic start to turn brown like this. And for me, the key figure for me when I'm going to harvest my garlic is when these stems like that break in the ground. I'm going around here looking for them. This one right here, if you get in close, you could see this, how this stem, I can easily just bend it over and you can hear that snap. Once I hear that snap, I know the outside of this stem is good and it's ready to harvest. Once I get all of these harvested, we'll go ahead and talk about how we're going to get this garlic ready for preservation in order to ensure that we can maintain this garlic to eat throughout the year, but also to keep it so that way we can grow it next season. So now that all of our garlic is harvested, let's talk about curing or preserving our garlic. And what I like to do is lay out all of my garlic in a sunny spot for about a week or two. And that's gonna cause all of these leaves to brown up and cause the garlic to dry. And what this is going to do is make the garlic have its distinct flavor. You can eat your garlic straight out of the ground, no problem, but it's not gonna be as strong or have that unique garlic flavor like you're typically used to. So allowing this garlic to dry out, completely dry out, all of these leaves should be completely brown. That's when the curing process is complete. And this can take upwards of a month depending on your area. And if it's gonna rain outside, bring them in, find a spot where you can hang them up, and you'll commonly see a lot of people braid their garlic. One, it looks really nice. It's easy for storage. You can hang it up, and it's a great way to show off your amazing harvest that you pulled out of the garden. Once your garlic is completely cured, what you want to do is brush off all that extra dirt, and then you're going to cut off any of these roots right here, just completely cut them off, as well as cut off most of your stem, leaving a very small portion of your stem left. If you have a hardneck garlic, As you said, it'll have that distinct stem. You can leave a little bit more, and that will allow the hardneck garlic to preserve for even longer. But at the end of the day, that's all you need to do in order to plant and harvest your garlic and get an amazing harvest like this. It really is pretty simple to grow your garlic. It's one of the easiest plants that you can grow. The hardest part is taking the time to establish your soil, giving your garlic what it needs to grow well. And if you do that, I guarantee you, you're going to have an amazing garlic harvest like this.